Alright, went to Harbor Freight and I got me a new Predator generator. 2000 watt portable inverter generator. We are going to pull that thing out of the box and check that thing out. That's why you should always carry a pocket knife. We got the manual. That is for battery charging. Got your little clamps to put on the battery. And your plug-in, which got the angle, so it's for the 12 volt. We got a little tool set. Screwdriver. A little wrench. Looks like a spark plug puller. And the bar to go in the spark plug puller to turn it. It's supposed to be almost as quiet as a Honda. So we shall see. Low oil shutdown, so it will shut down if you get low on oil, which can save your motor. Okay, 66 decibels. Turned it around, and we're going to take this cover off, remove these 3 screws right here, and I am going to use my magnetic parts holder that I did the video on earlier. I already pulled out 1 screw. Another reason to have a pocket knife. Pulled out 1 screw. And that. And even if the bowl fell off the table, that magnet's strong enough it isn't going to lose those screws. This pulls out. There we go. And it's got these little clips right there you got to be careful with. You don't break those. So you pull out and then it kind of comes up. It's kind of sticky at first. Since this is the first time I've used it. Alright, here's where you put the oil in. And you fill it up just so the oil is about ready to run out. Because you go right to the top of that, or the bottom of that fill hole. So you're going to want the oil right up here to the threads. Alright, I will go ahead and fill that up. One thing nice about this, it's got a little lip right there, so if you do overfill it, when it spills out of the thing, it comes down, hits that little plastic lip on the bottom of the frame, and it puts it on the outside so you're not actually flooding the inside of your generator. Alright, we are full of oil. Now I'm going to put this cover back on. There we go. Alright, took a little finagling to get that on. There's 3 little clips that come down, and then there's 2 little hooks on the side. You gotta slide those in and then kind of tap in on it on the sides, and then it'll pop in. And then push it in all the way around to make sure it's sealed in there. Then put your screws back in. It says in the manual, if you want to ground your unit, which you should, right here, there is a little bolt right there with a nut on it. You can put a ground wire to that and then stake in the ground. That's if you're going to use, you have to do that if you're going to use anything you need ground for. Otherwise, you can use it without it. Now we're going to add fuel. I have non-ethanol fuel. It's like almost $1 more a gallon, but it's worth it to save your equipment. One thing you don't want to forget when you're filling up a generator or even your lawnmowers and stuff, put fuel stabilizer in there. I mean, a lawnmower and stuff, if you're going to be using it a lot, you really don't need it. But come winter time, when you're going to be storing that thing, you want fuel stabilizer in there. But with a generator, especially if you're not using it constantly, you definitely want that in there, because a lot of times you're going to let it sit around for a month or two before you fire it back up. Use a gas can with a flexible spout like that so you can shove it down in there before you hit the gas release button, because you don't want to spill gas down the front, because that's where your panel is right there. Alright, screw that back on, and on the top of the gas cap there is a little valve that's got an off and an on it, and you want to turn it to on when you go to run the generator, because it's got to be able to suck air into there as the fuel's going down. And then when you're transporting it or not running it, turn it off. That way if in transportation it's not shaking around and fuel splashing out of that little open valve that's in there. But when you run it, make sure you open that, because it's got to be able to get the gas going through it. And it's got a really neat gas gauge right here on the top of it, and tells you how full it is. So that's a major plus. First, you want to make sure your economy switch is in the off position. You want to turn the switch right here. You got run and you got start. You want to turn it to the start position. Now let's see if she'll start up. Let's open the valve. Okay. It says to pull it several times to make sure the fuel gets in there before trying to actually really start it. And there you go. Wow. I pulled that like 3 or 4 times, nice and slow to get fuel in there. And then I pulled it hard once and it fired right up. And that thing is quiet. Alright, you want to look at it and make sure your low oil and your overload lights are all off. And your output light is on. Then you can go ahead and turn it to start, or I mean run. Wow, that started way easier than I thought. Anyway, that thing is running so smooth. It says to let it run for at least 5 minutes to before you hook up any load to it. And every couple months, if you're not using it, you want to run it for about 15 minutes to make sure you got the system flushing out and got it running. That way it doesn't start gumming up in the little tubes and stuff and carburetor. But do not forget that fuel additive for sure. But I'm gonna let it run for like 5 minutes, and then I'll plug something into it and check it out. But it says for the first 25 hours or so for the break-in period, don't run it at full load. You can run it up to 75% load, but do not run it at full load. Let the engine, break itself in first. And it says off a gallon of gas, if I got it at 50% load, it will go up to 6 hours. I've heard it'll go more than that, but it says 6 hours. So you'll need to fill it up at least 4 times to get through that process of breaking it in. So that's a good rule of thumb. Use 4 tankfuls for your break-in process. All right, we're gonna hook up a couple devices to it and see how it works. A drill. Sorry about the noise, but it's working. That's the economy mode switch where it cuts back on the fuel and slows it down a little bit. Let's see if it still runs this on economy mode. Sure does, but a drill doesn't use a lot of power, so. Economy mode, it's a bit quieter. When you go to start it up, you got to make sure the economy mode's off because you want maximum fuel getting in there to fire it up. But I am really impressed with this thing. Like I said, we'll see how longevity is, but start up and running. I got this thing for $439 on sale down there, and that's a pretty good deal for power in the mountains, and it's actually quite portable, so we can take it when we go camping and stuff. Man, I'm really liking this thing. And it's definitely quiet. Put it on echo mode and it really quiets it down. Something if you're right next to other campers in the campground or tents or whatever, it's not overwhelming. I've heard a lot of them in the campgrounds that when I go camping and stuff that are way louder than this. But this thing right here, it's designed to be quiet. I'm liking it. Anyway, I'm gonna hook a fan up to it and let it run for a while. And my household fan, so I could let it run for a while and start the break-in process. And there we go. Alright, I'll see you next video. Man, I'm excited to use this thing. See y'all later.